Well, I know I, for one, will be very curious to see if we begin witnessing more articles like this in the near future, the further along we get from the release of The Last of Us Part 2. Hello, this is Mara Jade, and I'm here with another video, and this article from Polygon.com has been covered on other channels, but I figured I would give my 2 cents on the situation. It is entitled, The Last of Us Part 2 has become a minefield. A descriptor, I might add, I find incredibly apt given the situation. A situation that Sony and Naughty Dog could have very easily found themselves not in had they not done what they had done following the leaks that happened in late April for The Last of Us Part 2. But it is what it is right now. Now, I'm not going to go into this article because it is a very lengthy one. I'm just going to cover where the author, Patricia Hernandez, talks about how Naughty Dog and Sony handled those, speaking critically of the game. So let's go down into this article. Alright. Here it is, right here. Discussion about the survival horror game was also hampered by an unusually restrictive embargo guideline, which included sentences like, do not include any beat-by-beat descriptions of pivotal narrative or cutscene moments, and do not reveal the fate of any character or the inciting event. This prevented websites from discussing specifics at all about the game's story, which was tricky considering that the game reveals something surprising within its first 2 hours that impacts the remainder of its 20 to 30 hour journey. The surprising twist being Joel's death within the first 2 hours of the game at the hands of Abby, a character that you are forced to play as, for half the game. Curiously, at least one website, GameSpot, actually published 2 reviews, one spoiler-free and the other with spoilers. Okay, why go through such lengths, especially when the internet was flooded with half-informed takes and speculation based on what had already been leaked? Not exactly half-informed, is it now? Control. There it is, the key word there, control. Naughty Dog no longer steered the narrative of The Last of Us Part 2, and this was one way to try and regain control. The studio had already gone to great efforts to maintain a tight grip on what folks knew about the experience. As Kotaku reported, Naughty Dog at one point showed a fake scene, a deliberately manipulated, inserted character in a fake scene during the trailer to make people believe that character being Joel, would be more present in the game than they actually were. They purposefully aged his character in some of the scenes when they were actually flashback, and then they purposefully inserted him into a scene where he was not, to make people believe that he was going to be in it through most of the game. Even though you were playing as Ellie, people thought that. So Naughty Dog deceptively manipulated people's emotions to get them to buy the game, because a lot of people loved Joel from the first one. The vibe around the game hasn't gotten much better since then. On June 12th, Vice published its review of Last of Us Part 2, which conceded that while the game had memorable moments that made for great spectacle, reviewer Rob ZacKnees was less taken with the story and its characters. Nobody ever reconsiders their quest for vengeance, ZacKnees wrote. Everyone acts under a kind of vindictive compulsion that goes little remarked and unexamined. Okay, you have on one hand Abby, the character who brutally murders Joel for revenge, living this because she feels no remorse. She does not go through the epiphany of realizing she murdered the man who murdered her father, but yet her father is still dead. That is generally one of the remorseful outcomes stemming from vengeance, but she feels none of that. Also, she brutally beats up other people, to include a pregnant woman, and says, good. She feels nothing for what she's done. Ellie, on the other hand, is the one who reconsiders her quest for vengeance, because you get to the final boss fights, and she decides to spare Abby. You're playing as Ellie at that point, and you get slapped across the face because you're a piece of shit, essentially, for wanting vengeance. And people are supposed to take that? Really? Oh. ZacKnees went on to describe the game's message as complacent, full of repressive bleakness and violence. While the vast majority of reviews have lavished The Last of Us Part 2 with all sorts of praise, a handful of outlets, Polygon included, have been slightly more critical of the blockbuster game. According to ZacKnees, Vice's review prompted a Sony representative to reach out on behalf of Naughty Dog. Wow. Don't talk critically. Don't talk critically. They felt some of the conclusions I reached in my review were unfair. Unfair. And dismissed some meaningful changes or improvements. Felt that his conclusions, the conclusions he drew, because conclusions like opinions are subjective, that he came to, were unfucking fair. Are you serious? ZacKnees clarifies that the exchange wasn't confrontational, but that it was nonetheless unusual, as the site doesn't typically have big publishers asking in an official capacity why a review reads in the way it does. Why are you speaking negatively? God forbid. Such things can happen, of course, though often with smaller developers or from publishers who have spotted a factual error in a piece that they want corrected. That's a given. But to contact the reviewer because you thought his conclusions were unfair is just fucking bullshit. I was happy to unpack a bit of my reasoning, however, and received a perfectly cordial message in response, ZacKnees said. Naughty Dog's PR team declined to comment on Polygon's inquiry about its exchange with Vice. Alright, and then you have here Neil Druckman responding to social media, where he is said, hopping into discussion about the game to wag his finger at journalists who were making fun of a tasteless post that had compared The Last of Us Part 2 to Schindler's List. Other developers, like God of War's Cory Barlog, closed ranks around Druckman, going as far as to unfairly position dissenting opinion as an attempt to tear developers down. So don't speak critically. Don't have any dissenting opinions whatsoever, because if you do so, your only purpose is to tear the developers down, not to say, hey, maybe take this constructively and improve. Oh. And the defensiveness was avoidable. It was avoidable, because all he had to do was shut the fuck up when the leaks happened. Shut the fuck up and not falsely copyright strike channels, to include mine, and to nearly obliterate others' channels who have been working hard to build their channels up because you decided to abuse the system. So yes, it was avoidable, not unavoidable. Oh. When Naughty Dog's first leak first surfaced, plenty of game makers went on social media to express their disappointment that gaming outlets reported on it at all, rather than seeing such reportage as part of the job. Yet it's part of the fucking job. It's news when one of the biggest games of the year has a huge leak months before release. News writers were positioned as betrayers who weren't on the side of developers. Oh my god, so now that the game is actually out, that tension between the people involved with the game and members of the press has only become more noticeable. More noticeable. Again, avoidable. Oh, and this is a tweet from Jason Schreier. You can read this article. Like I said, it's long, but it goes into detail on the situation and what Naughty Dog has been treating the media, who have been dared to not giving any less than, not a glowing review, basically less than a glowing review. Oh my god. The protective shield around The Last of Us Part 2 can be seen at any time the creatives or talent behind the game jump into critical conversations about it. It's made talking about the game exhausting. On one hand, we have bigots trying their hardest to tear the game down for its inclusion of queer characters. Fuck you. That's not the case at all. There might be a very, 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 very slim majority of people who feel that way, but the vast majority don't fucking care because they've known, one, that Ellie is a lesbian since The Last of Us Left Behind, and two, we're happy to hear that they would be playing as her. She would be the playable character for the game before they got slapped in the face and the rug pulled out from underneath their feet to realize that they would be playing her only for half the game and playing the rest of the game as Abby, the woman who murders Joel. On the other hand, we've got the people who actually made the game putting their figurative fists up. On the third hand, go with it, we've got fans and professional critics trying to share their takes on the game, good and bad and everything in between, which is the vast, vast majority. Oh my god. It's a long article, you can read it for yourself. But basically it stands right here that Naughty Dog... First off, Neil Druckman knew, and he was involved in quelling the discussions about the leaks, on top of trying to keep the leaks out from the media, and two, now they're not liking it when critics dare to speak anything critical about the game, have any dissenting opinion whatsoever, because whatever conclusions they come to would be deemed unfair by Sony. Take it for what you will. Again, it's a situation that Sony could have easily avoided. Very, very easily avoided. But now they are finding themselves in the situation with the PS5 on the horizon. It's released on the horizon. So we'll see how that goes following the release of The Last of Us Part 2. But it is what it is. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Do you agree with this author? Do you disagree with this author? Let me know down there. Did you buy the game? Have you played it? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Let me know that down in the comments below. Tomorrow, my plan is to do a live stream in the evening, probably around 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, thereabouts. And then following that live stream, do a members-only live stream. I will tweet out the details either later this evening or tomorrow. So look for that if you're a member. Also, I'll be putting out a community post in that regard as well. So, until my next video and or live stream... and till the next news that breaks for whatever Naughty Dog is doing, this is Mara Jade. I'll catch you on the dark side, and Abby Smash. Peace.